You're listening to the See the Unseen podcast, where our number one focus is creating a little visibility for people who deserve a whole lot of spotlight. I'm your host, Melissa Georgeoff, and I'm here to share some amazing stories that can transform and inspire lives. So get ready to take those blinders off and see the unseen. Welcome to the podcast. So I'm here today with Kellim. He is a pop singer-songwriter. He is originally from Bethalto, Illinois, and he shared the stage with acts like One Republic, Train, and Gin Blossoms. And he's been on a ton of reality shows. So I'm so excited to have you here, and welcome to the podcast, Aaron.
Thank you so much. It's a treat to be here. Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to this.
This is so fun. So let's just talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that you are from Bethalto, Illinois.
Yes, born and raised.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about this Steel Magnolias quote. You probably have never seen Steel Magnolias.
I probably have. You can ask my wife about it. I could watch a movie yesterday and love it and be like fully engaged.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quote a single thing about it, and probably forget the plot line too.
I just keep, and it's about this lady's like, I know everyone in this town, and I have not come across you. So, but I sit here, I think he's from Bethalto, so I saw that you were performing out in LA.
Yep.
And you're a pretty big deal out there in LA.
I'm working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. But I love the fact that you're coming back here on this homecoming tour.
Yes.
And but you love the fact that you're proud that you are from Bethalto,
100%.
like your roots. And I am too. And so, that's why I kind of started the podcast too, is to, make sure that kids that are from a small town know that, no matter what your circumstances or what your history is, or if you come from a small town or you don't have money, like you can still be successful.
Yes.
So what is your, so you tell me about growing up in Bethalto.
Yeah, so I was really into sports growing up. So sports were my life. Baseball first, soccer, basketball. And so growing up, that was like all I was doing. We were traveling everywhere for me to play soccer or baseball. In high school, I was playing sports. Like that was the big thing. I started playing guitar in 8th grade, and it was kind of like the hobby thing to do. In high school, myself and Nolan Wright, who's a big part of my journey and my story, we started like a little punk band in his parents' basement. And so I was playing music in high school. I was singing at the Lutheran church here in town.
Oh, really? Zion?
Yep, at Zion.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up at Zion. I went to school through 6th grade at Zion, so that was our church for a really long time. Harley Schmidt at Zion was teaching me how to play acoustic guitar and kind of sing in the church world. And so it was a part of my life in high school, but definitely sports was like the main thing. I didn't really talk a lot about music. I listened to it a lot, but that wasn't any part of my focus. I wasn't in choir. I wasn't in theater. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I wish I would have. And then in college, it was kind of this fork in the road of, I really want to play soccer in college, and I think I can get a scholarship to play soccer, but I also am like kind of intrigued with this music stuff. And at the time, I think I was looking into becoming like a worship director or pastor at a church.
Okay, so I definitely want to talk about that, but let's go back. You're from CM, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what year did you graduate?
2004.
2004. Oh my gosh, I had a 4-year-old then and a 9-year-old. So
amazing.
Okay, so you're going to high school here in a small town. You weren't in music or anything like that?
Not in the school. We were playing a lot. I would go to Nolan's house every week. We were starting to write music, and we were playing a lot in his basement. I think we were playing shows on the weekends at like the Roundhouse in Wood River.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember the Roundhouse.
We were playing there a lot.
It's not there anymore, right?
That's sad.
Yeah, I don't think it is, and anybody does that.
Hurts my heart. Yeah, so we were doing a lot of that kind of VFW halls. I think the first show we ever played was in his basement. And so it's interesting because it was a big part of my life, but also it was just so drowned out by sports that it was like a fun thing. And it's that I'm from a small town, so this could never be an actual career for me. So I wouldn't even put it in my head that could be what I do for the rest of my life.
So who wanted you to be in all these sports? Did you?
I did, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So you were just focused on sports. You didn't even think about having a career in music at that time?
Not really, no. I mean, there was like the big dreamer in me that's like, this could be amazing. But it was that you hear a lot, especially in a small town, because it seems so hard to be able to have a career in something creative. And so I think all of that of like, well, that's cool, but like, what's plan B, or what's that? You hear that a lot. And so I just think I never in high school thought that it was a reality. So I didn't let it really sit at the forefront, even though when I'm playing these shows, I'm like, this would be cool to do this forever. But it was like, that can never happen. So just push that down.
Right.
It's like sports could be an option to get.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. And like when I think about it, even in my life, is that, because I didn't come from money and I didn't even know there were these opportunities out there. And I think a lot of kids don't even know what they don't know. So
Exactly.
like for me, I was like, well, we don't have, money. I know that only the rich kids go to college. And so I'm going to go out to Lewis and Clark because that's what I can afford to do.
Alma mater.
And right. So, and then I thought, maybe I'll be a flight attendant or a secretary because that's what my parents can afford and what I can afford to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, later somebody believing in you or saying, there's this other bigger world out there. And, and that's why I'm passionate about coaching, mentorship, and things like that. And I love that you are saying the same thing. It's like, there is this little bit like this voice going, oh, you're from a small town. You'll never amount to anything. You can't go out to LA and hang with all these celebrities and get on stage with gin blossoms and,
Right.
So, yeah. So tell me more about that. Like, what was it that, was like a breakthrough for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was like ever a turning moment. A big part of it is that I had parents who, we were by no means extremely wealthy, didn't come from a lot of money, but I had parents who just fully believed in me. And I know a lot of people don't have that opportunity where parents, like, it was never, well, that's cute, son, but like, when are you going to do the real thing? It was like, if you want to play soccer, put your mind to it, play soccer. Like, we're supporting you 100%. If that's what you want to do that. And so they're a big part of when I finally decided, like, no, I think this music industry is the way I want to go. They were just like, great, we got your back. If that's what you want to do, like, go do that. And so that's a big part of it. I think I started traveling with music in college, and the first tour that I did, probably specifically with the Gin Blossoms, I was in a band called One Lone Car, and we went out on tour with the Gin Blossoms. And I think the first show we did was a theater in Pennsylvania, a sold-out theater. And I think that was probably the moment where it like flipped, like, oh no, I want to do this the rest of my life, and I believe that this is actually possible because I'm on a stage looking out at a extremely packed theater. So this is now a reality that this could be my life.
So, okay, so how did that come about? Like, you don't just say, I want to go play on stage and open up for Gin Blossoms,
I wish
right?
it was that easy. That'd be incredible.
Right. So, like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so at that time, I was actually in a band called Bear Hug Jersey before One Lone Car. And I think all guys from Bethalto except for our drummer. He was from Roxana. And we were good friends with One Lone Car. And just circumstances happened where I started playing guitar for One Lone Car, and then their singer ended up leaving, so I just became the singer of the band. And that was my first show with them, was with the Gin Blossoms in Pennsylvania. But the drummer of that band, Andy Herron, he was like extreme go-getter. He from Alton, and he would just like send out cold call emails all the time to so many different people. And he just built a relationship with the guys from the Gin Blossoms just through cold call or cold typed emails, whatever you call it. And so that was all because of him. He was just such a go-getter when it came to that.
Sometimes people think there's this like magic thing that, you've got to, you have to have all these different connections. But, for me, first of all, I love connecting with people and developing relationships. So networking for me is just like, gets me excited. Yep. And so, but, that's what I'll do. Just send out an email or just, like when I had Dayton Weber on a couple weeks ago, my daughter is like, sends me this Instagram. Hey, he would be cool on your podcast. This guy has no arms, no legs, and he's a cornhole champion. I'm like, okay. So Andy is like, you're just going to message him? I'm like, Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I messaged him literally the next day. He's like, I want to be on your podcast. I'm
That's
like,
so cool.
That's how stuff happens.
It
It's
really
like,
is.
There's no like secret sauce. It's like, just do
Nope.
the things. But some people are uncomfortable reaching out, right?
Yeah, because you feel like I still get this way where it's like, well, I don't know if I'm quite at the level yet where they're like they would think it's a good idea to, because I do a lot of like, hey, love to write with you, or like love to open a show for you,
Right.
And there's still that little thing inside of me like, you haven't done enough yet to deserve the chance to work with that person. So I totally get it, but honestly, it's like an email.
So let's talk about that. Why is it, look, you've done it so much, and we're going to get to all the things that you've done. But it's like, you still have that little voice in your head that's like, I'm not good enough, or I haven't done enough, or whatever. And we, you and I kind of talked about this before we even got on the podcast, is like, maybe that is like, oh, because I'm from a small town or something. And I don't understand why that is, but even in the corporate world, I've had a lot of people who've kind of made fun of, oh, you're from Bethalto, Illinois, and I have to, come from some Ivy League school to do cool things.
Right.
It's like, just because that you have some big degree or, it doesn't make you the smartest person in the world. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but like, you know what? It's doing the hard work every single day. And so, I think that's almost like the devil talking, and I think even for you, I mean, I know that from what I've read about you is that your faith is really important to you.
Yep.
But why do we allow like the devil to keep like controlling almost your mind instead of listening to what God says about us?
Right. I wish I had a great answer for that, because things would change. Yeah, I just think we all have so many insecurities in ourselves, and I think it's so easy. I think we talked a little bit about this. When I am operating in my why in life, like I did a lot of work probably in 2017 with a dear friend named Brad Williams, of figuring out why are you on this planet? A very clear, almost like you see so many people who have a mission statement, a one-liner of like, this is why we operate. Mm-hmm. And so I did a lot of work and like figured out my why in life is to lead people to and through love. Like I want people to see me loving others well, to encourage them to also love others well and to feel loved. And so if I'm operating in that, no matter what I'm doing, that little devil on my shoulder has no voice. Like
right.
That he could scream as loud as he wants, and this ear is blocked from hearing any of that.
Sure.
When I start operating outside of that and start operating in, they'll want to work with me because of how good I am at what I do. Mm-hmm. That's when that little voice starts kicking in, and I have trouble quieting it, because all my worth in that moment is then in, well, have you written good enough songs? Have you worked with the right people? Have you done the right things? And when my head starts doing that, those are the moments where I start feeling like, well, I'm not good enough. But if I know, like, no matter who I'm in a room with, I have the opportunity to lead them to and through love. And no matter what I've done, no matter what kind of songs I've written, no matter who I've worked with, that is going to trump all of that. And we're going to have an amazing experience. So for me, those are the times when I'm not like conscious and operating in my why in life. That's when that voice gets louder and louder, because it's so hard to quiet it when I'm trying to operate in the things I do to prove my worth.
Right. In the same way I think about in business too, my why has always been, people with disabilities, and, I wanted to fight for them mm-hmm. and make sure they get the coverage they need and all those things. And then when I allowed myself to do this kind of creative thing with the podcast, it was like, well, maybe when I get in my head about like, why am I doing this? Who's going to listen to this? Like, who even cares mm-hmm. about, if I spend an hour and a half talking to this artist or that artist or whatever, and they're going to be like, why is she talking to an LA pop, singer-songwriter,
right.
or why, who does she think she is, or whatever. But I have to remember, to continue to tell myself the why is, for me, creating visibility for people who deserve the whole spotlight. And maybe that's that little chip on my shoulder that's like, I'm from Bethalto, and I'm proud of being from Bethalto in a small town. And I can be in the small town, and I can go travel around the country. When you start thinking about like, you have something to prove, I always got to remember my why. I want to help other people. I want them to see that, hey, I've been able to be successful and be vulnerable enough, like you are doing right now. It's like sharing your vulnerabilities mm-hmm. and like, you don't have to be perfect. Yeah. And I think for me, that's what it is just remembering like, I want to fight for the underdog.
Yeah.
and help women or young people grow in their career, help singer-songwriters get their message out, like why they write the songs behind write the stories behind the songs, and then share my faith.
Yeah.
So if
what
that's
you're doing, you turn the camera on, these are on, that's what you do.
Yeah, so like if it's one person, it's helping, but like sometimes we think we have to do something huge.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're helping just one person, along the way, then that's okay too.
That's huge.
Like you're sharing God's love with people, and like you're doing things to bring kindness to people, and that's your, just reminding yourself of like who you are.
Yep.
And not trying to be anybody else.
Totally.
Like, you know what? I used to tell. Okay, so I dated this guy, and I ended up marrying him, but he was kind of he was a wealth advisor, and he was from St. Louis, and his family came from money, and it also used to tick me off because he lost his job, and then I made all the money, and they thought I was like some gold digger or something because I was blonde. But he used to be like, "Oh, you can't take the country out of the small town." I'm like, "Girl," or something like that. Like making snotty comments. And I was like, you know what? There is nothing better than putting on a pair of jeans and going having a beer at the homecoming and a funnel cake.
Seriously.
And I was like, when I can meet a guy who can live in the world of my business world and love the fact that I can just go up to the Bethalto homecoming in a couple weeks and have a beer and a funnel cake, and I don't have to be anybody, then you know what? That's that's when life is good.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't know why I got off on that kick, but anyway, I love the
homecoming.
Yeah. So which we should talk about the homecoming too coming up. But you've got this hat that says "Be kind."
Yes.
And so
product placement. You've
got a bunch of merchandise stuff. So tell me about that.
Yes.
And where all this like kindness and comes from.
Yeah. So specifically the brand. So when I started making music as a solo artist, Aaron Kellim, because starting in high school kind of through 2017-ish, it was always a band or a duet. It was always me and somebody else. And 2017 is when I decided I think it's time to just present myself as Aaron Kellim to the world. I think I love the band things. I love being in a duet, but I also think it was always kind of a crutch for me. If things didn't work out, it could be somebody else's fault too. I didn't have to carry all the weight of this failing. And so I think I was a little nervous, even though I kind of always knew I kind of want to be in control of the messaging and all of that, because I think what I have to offer can really change some lives. And I think I was a little hesitant to just go out as me. So in 2017, I started releasing music as a solo artist, as Aaron Kellim. And I was trying to do new merch for every song I released. So my first song I released was called Love You Better. And so I made a shirt with some logo on it for Love You Better.
Okay.
Then I did one for my second song called Got You Baby. And the first song, I had somebody else make it. The second song for Got You Baby, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be doing this for every song I release, this is going to be a lot of money to pay somebody. And when you do it through a third party and they ship it to you, it makes more sense to buy at least 100 or more. Well, then you have to sell 100 shirts to make your money back. And I was like, this is a lot. And we live in LA, so there's not a lot of room to store all this merch. So it was like, I think I want to buy a press so I can just make my own. That way, if somebody wants one shirt, I can make one shirt. And so for Got You Baby, I get this press, and of course I don't read the directions on how to do anything because it's so easy. And so I have it says Got You Baby real big. I just want it big and bold. And so I hit the press, pull the press up, rip off, there's a piece of plastic that you pull off. I hold it up, and I was like, that's backwards. That's not it. That's not the right way. And of course, I didn't read the directions. When you cut out the vinyl, you have to hit this one little button that flips it.
Right.
And so it's like, well, you know what? It kind of looks cool. And so I kept that, and that was good. So I sold that one. And then for the next song, I started thinking, you know what? I kind of want to make merch where anybody could wear it. If they know me, don't know me, and they would enjoy wearing it. They would want to, whatever it says, they would want to represent that thing. And so kindness has really just been the forefront of my life, my entire life. I think I get a lot of it from my parents. They're just the kindest people on planet Earth. They're just very generous and very giving. My mom is so tender, and just the way that she interacts with other human beings. And so I get a lot of that from them. And so as I'm thinking through, like, what message would I want to give to the world that's very obviously Aaron Kellim, but at the same time, you don't have to know that. And so I was like, okay, be kind. That is my messaging. I want to do that. And I started thinking, because if you go anywhere, you go to Target, you go to Walmart, you're going to see a shirt that says, be kind. There could be a bee on it, whatever. So it's like, I'm going to get lost in all of that. So like, how can I do this to where it's very uniquely me and it says exactly what I want it to say, but it's not lost in all that. And so I started thinking, I was like, okay, wait a second. That backwards thing was pretty cool with Got You Baby. That was an accident, but it kind of worked. Like, I liked, it looked interesting.
Well, if you're in the mirror, it actually would be
right. Then
you're looking at it and you're reading it yourself.
Right. And so that's what clicked in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's exactly that is my offering of the world of be kind. Like, I think we get very caught up in telling everyone else how to live their lives. So we look at somebody and we say, well, you need to live differently so this world can be different, while we're just sitting here in our little grumpy chair and telling everybody what to do, and we're not doing anything to change the world or see the kind of change we want to see. So I was like, that's perfect, because if it's backwards, then you can only read it in a mirror, and then it's a reminder to yourself to treat everyone else with kindness. So when you look at it in the mirror, you're like, oh shoot, that's right, I'm wearing the shirt to be kind, so I better be kind. And a good reminder for a lot of people, they take it and they look at it and it's a reminder to be kind to themselves, because so often we're the least kind to ourselves.
Right.
And so it's just had a lot of meanings to it.
I love that.
Yeah, it was meant to be just merch for music, and then it just quickly turned into like becoming its own brand and everything. So
isn't
it's
that
been
crazy
incredible.
how like an accident,
a mistake.
And first of all, it's just crazy that you're like printing your own t-shirts
Right.
out in LA, you know.
Do what you gotta
but
do.
It's fun that, you know, you just were like, I'm gonna do this, and I love that. And you know, and I love that it was the mirror thing, you know, that and I think of that too, like when I'm like, you know, I'm sitting here telling people, you know, get out there, be courageous, you know, and I think, and that's why one day I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, you know what, you know, I'm not going out there getting on my headset. I have a podcast and I have a vehicle to have this communication. And if I'm not going to be a hypocrite. So if I need to look inside, and that's what you're like, I have to have one of those t-shirts too.
Yes,
so tell me where, tell the viewers, like, how do they get these t-shirts?
AaronKellim.com, AaronKellim. So right now, it's still just kind of under my merch. There's a tab that says merch, or you can do AaronKellim.com/merch. It's all there. Eventually, it will be its own website and entity, but that's a lot of work for me right now to do all that. So it's still under the merch tab on my website, AaronKellim.com.
So, you know, being a singer-songwriter, do you find yourself like you know, it's, some people have marketing people, but you have to do a lot of things yourself, right?
A ton of things, yeah.
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing, what I've been really learning the past probably 3 years specifically, but I've kind of known this for a while, but the past 3 years have been just proof in the pudding. A lot of times, and this goes back also to being from small town Bethalto, it feels so hard to do what we do as creatives, specifically for me as a songwriter. It seems virtually impossible when you think about it from the lens of living in Bethalto, that we oftentimes feel like this with everything that we do. Like, I can't give out information to anybody else because that might give them an opportunity and take one away from me. I don't want to write music with anybody else because, like, it's already hard enough to make music, so if I add one more person to that pie, then that's half the money for me. So coming from here, that was a big eye-opener. Like, no, you really need a team of people around you to do this and be successful with it. And you have to be willing to give up a little bit of the pie to other people. And so we've been building this beautiful community in LA. My friend Jay Denton owns Endure Studios. And it has just been all about building a team of people who are very like-minded, who are kind of like contradictory to the way the industry works and handling splits and things like that. And so I have a team of producers, songwriters around me who we're just working together to do everything. And oftentimes they're helping me create content, do different things like that. And so the team of people around you, because like you said, it is so much to do. I'm having to think this whole tour. So I'm on this homecoming tour right now. I'm barely thinking about the shows. I'm thinking about, okay, I need video of this moment. I need video of this moment. How do I do that? Because I'm only one person. I gotta put this post up to remind people to come to the show. I got to make sure ticket sales are going well. I got to, all these different things.
Yeah.
And so the team of people that you build around you, and you have to really like believe in each other's why and purpose and what they're doing. Because if it's just, oh, you're cool and write good music, I'm cool, I write good music, let's do it. Like that's so surface level, and that dies
Right.
very quickly. If you have like deep understandings of why everyone's doing what they're doing. So I've been building that with Jay and some of the team, Brittany Book out there at Endure Studios, which has been amazing. And I just took on management Christopher Meek. He's out of Provo, Utah. And he and I have kind of been working together for 2 years. I've been writing for a lot of his artists, and having him on my team now to help with a lot of that, like how do you do it all,
Right.
has been incredible. He's like thinking of things that I just put on the back burner because it's like stuff I need to think about, but it's like I don't have time for that. And so the team of people that you build around you, even I think, again, you think I don't have the money to do that, I can't afford that. If you really just believe in what each other are doing, you figure it out. You find ways to make it all work.
Well, and that's a lot like in business. So, and I try and think about it that way. For me, I'm kind of a control type A person. And so, if you want to be a bigger leader, you have to empower others, and you have to learn to delegate. And it's scary to let go of control. If I let somebody else do this with my music, like that, what if they don't do a good job? So it's about trusting in your team. And then it sounds like too with you, it's like along the way that you are encouraging your team and you're explaining the why you're doing what you're doing. So that it's not like people that are on your marketing team are just going to go out there and say, you know what, listen to Aaron Kellim because he's this LA pop singer, songwriter, and
everything. Don't F you.
Yeah, right.
That's not a brand at all.
Right. That's not who you are.
Exactly.
And they're a reflection of you. And so, and that for me, like that's my team was a reflection of me. So it's continuing to educate them. And people don't realize what all goes into, like they might look at you and are like, oh, he probably just, gets up on stage and starts, singing and he shows up and that's all he does. Right. But then it takes a village. Tommy Carlos was here on my first podcast, and he's a singer-songwriter, and he's had a #1 hit with Montgomery Gentry and wrote a song for Blake Shelton. But you know what? It takes a village. And it's like, hey, Tommy, he's out there putting posters up all over, the area. And I'm like, Tom, you don't have time for that. Give me the posters. And then I'm thinking, well, I don't really have a lot of time either. But I'm like, you know what? It takes everyone that believes in you to get the word out. And and I think that's great that, you are recognizing it, though. It's like, I got to let a little bit go and then trust my people and let your manager kind of handle things too. But it also shows how much you care about, your reputation and making sure that people are representing you the right way.
Yeah, that's a huge factor in it, because that you can get a lot of really talented people around you, but that really means nothing if they don't fully understand who you are as an artist
or where you're going.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's so important.
So your mom, you have this be kind, and you say that your parents were really were so kind and they believed in you. And my mom was my biggest cheerleader. She passed away in 2010 from it was colon cancer, the radiation and everything from that. No, it's okay. But tell me a little bit about growing up with parents like that and what your parents mean to you, and and what they're doing. How, what do they think of you today being a pop singer? Yeah,
they're so proud. They're I'm staying with them the next couple of days because we played last night in Lewis and Clark. We got tonight in Bethalto. So we've been with them. We got in town Thursday. And they're just ear to ear grinning. They're just so proud of me. So it's so encouraging. But they, I just they were so focused on how, seeing other people. I just remember anytime anyone did something for us, gave something to us, anything was, say thank you, please, thank you. But it was all I just remember everything was directed on seeing other people, making sure that other people knew that you were grateful for them, making sure they knew you appreciated the things that they did for you. And so I think that has a lot to do with, because to a fault, I'm very conscious of other people over myself. like if I'm in a room with somebody, I care way more that they're comfortable than I do care if I'm comfortable. And I think I get a lot of that from them because they're the same. Like if we go out to eat, the way that they treat the waiter or waitress, they're just like so kind. They make sure they tip them a ridiculous amount of money every time. And so that how they've like shown me how to see other people, I think has been one of the greatest gifts. They just see through this lens of love and grace and humility, and I think that's changed everything for me.
That makes you who you are today.
Massively,
Is your
yeah.
mom and dad.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I know you mentioned, let's talk about your mom for a minute.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that when we were talking before the podcast, I said that I was very involved with the ALS Association. I just had Kate Linder from the Young and the Restless. She's the celebrity spokesperson for ALS. And like, this is almost like get me up, emotional, but like it was, sometimes I think there's divine connections, like why you meet certain people.
Yeah.
And you said that your mom was diagnosed with ALS just like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, not very recently. Yeah, she's been the past 2 years, just kind of health issues, having trouble walking, just feeling very dizzy. She would like constantly be having to hold on to a wall or like stabilize herself. A few things like with her speech where it was feeling a little slurred or like hard for her to get certain words out. Like it almost felt like mini stroke-ish, but then it's like, no, because the other things aren't adding up to that. And so they spent 2 years going to all these appointments, different doctors, different neurologists, trying to figure out what the heck is going on with her. And it was just been wildly frustrating to, like, your body's failing you and you have no idea why, and there's no explanation to any of it. And so they finally went to a neurologist at WashU, and they were able to diagnose her with ALS, which is obviously not at all what you want to hear, or like just a devastating diagnosis. But at the same time, there's just this weird relief in knowing that, okay, this is what we have, and here's the next steps with that. And so, it's been a journey for sure, and still trying to process everything and knowing what, life is going to look different for a little while. And, but honestly, it's been like kind of bittersweet because every moment now just feels like so special. So,
yeah, I mean, I've advocated for people with ALS for 30 years of my career, and it is one of the most, horrible diseases because your mind is fine, and it's all of these things that are like shutting down. And I don't think people even know what the challenges are that they face. Like I work for a ventilator company, and you'd think, it's a no-brainer that people need to be able to breathe. And I'm fighting with certain health plans to get them to pay for a ventilator for someone to breathe. So, or get a complex wheelchair or whatever, eventually. But, I think that there's so many people advocating and to find a cure for ALS, and and Kate was really passionate about it. She's like, we will find a cure.
Right.
Her brother-in-law had ALS and everything, but I mean, first of all, I'm just so sorry but it, when you sit there and say that at least you have answers, and that that every moment counts, and and along the way that, I don't, I hope that if there's anything that I can ever do to help or whatever, I know that I have people, Steve Gleason is looking, he has no white flags, ALS, and he'll like be so like, ALS sucks, and just, F ALS, and stuff. And so, he's super passionate. He literally has no movement in his whole body, but he said, what's crazy is to your whole kindness thing. He says that he is the most happiest now. I mean, he was the kicker for the New Orleans Saints. He's been on Microsoft commercials and everything. He has no movement in his whole body, but his eyes, and he operates his wheelchair from his eyes now. But he says he's never been happier. He had 2 babies while he's had ALS. Wow. His wife and him like documented his whole journey. It's called Gleason, which you should. Maybe you should not watch it, but anyway, I want to extend anything I can do to help.
appreciate that.
And I think it's great that you are just vulnerable enough to share something that you and your family are going through right now, and hopefully just allow the community, even Bethalto, like allow this community to just love on her and pray and I'll be praying for her.
Thank you.
And I would ask everyone here to just pray for her and know that God's got it, right? It's all in God's hands, and this is only temporary.
Yeah.
So
it's been really cool already seeing community just rallying around her. And I think almost overwhelming to the point of like, we can cook dinner for ourselves, and like everyone's stepping up to bring food.
Yeah.
You keep bringing food. That wasn't, but yeah.
What street does she live on here in Bethalto?
They're over in Heatherland, Crestmore. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll send food that way.
Yeah, they've been great. Just like every time I talk to them, it's like, oh, well, so-and-so brought food over, so-and-so came over to visit. So it's been really cool to see people rally around her. And yeah, I didn't know much about ALS at all before this, and just now kind of learning. And there's so much that I just think, like you said, people don't realize what people go through who have ALS. So it's been a learning thing for me too, and just trying to navigate it the best I can.
Right. And especially when you're out, touring and everything else, it's like, people don't realize like you got a lot of stuff going on too in your personal life.
Yeah.
But well, let's transition into something a little bit fun.
I love that.
Let's talk about, first of all, your music has been on a bunch of reality shows, right?
Yeah.
Like The Ultimatum.
Love is Blind, Temptation Island.
Okay.
A few others. There's a Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis is another one that almost every episode I feel like they've got some of my music on it. It's been a lot.
Is it the background music? What is it? What
it's mostly background. Yeah. So either you'll hear it a lot when they're transitioning from scene to scene. Like if you're watching something like Love is Blind, it's like they're sitting in their living room talking, and then it's like a shot of the city to get you over to the next scene. And that's my music we playing there. Or a lot of times if there's a moment, Love is Blind, I feel like has been kind of more so this, like they do their best to have the lyrics of the song match the scene almost to the point that you think it was written for the scene.
Okay.
Because a lot of people think there's like different blogs out there or different write-ups, articles where people are like, there's no way that they just happened to find this music that worked so perfectly for the thing. And one of our songs is actually one that they were talking about in an article on some major publication. I forget what it was, but it's like the song is Before We're Leaving Here. I forget the scene, but like she says a word in the scene and it's this very dramatic thing. And then the song plays and it's like exactly what she just said, but in the form of a song.
Yeah. You're like, I meant to do that.
Yeah. It's obviously on purpose. So it kind of happens all over the place, but mostly background. We actually just recently, I don't know if I can say that. We're working on.
We're in Bethalto. You can really say anything you want.
Lawyers are good at catching a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, my lawyer was like, "Oh yeah, it's minimal risk with a podcast." I'm like, "Yeah," until you start talking about singer-songwriters and copyright laws, and I'm like, maybe he doesn't know everything that's not going to be on my podcast.
Right. Yeah. So we just wrote a theme song for a show, and I think I could say at least that. And so we're waiting for the final word on all that. But so that would be a little more predominant because that would obviously play every time the show comes on as the theme song of the show.
So how did you get on these? Like, and I didn't know what The Ultimatum was until I looked it up the other night on Netflix, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible! Like, that's a bad plan. Like, to go in, and like, I'm gonna give him an ultimatum because I really want to get married, and if he doesn't, I'm gonna go on with this dude or whatever."
Yeah, some of it's hard to stomach.
Yeah, or Temptation Island. It was how about I bring my partner and then bring with all these different women that are all his are all different types, and then see if he can be tempted, and if he can't, then we're meant to be together. I'm like, that is an awful plan and strategy. That's the devil for sure.
You definitely. I wouldn't use that as relationship advice.
No.
But the there's a company called Atrium Music, and they are a licensing company. And so they're kind of middleman when a show like Temptation Island is looking for music. They have like trusted partners who they know can get music without any issues with the publishing or anything like that. And so Atrium gets a catalog of music that they can pitch to these shows when they're looking for certain music. And so Jay specifically at Endure Studios has just built this amazing relationship with Atrium and the owners there. And so by proxy, he introduced me, and now I have a really great relationship with them. And so right now, it's basically any song that I write as an artist, I'm sending to them, and then they're just pitching it to all these different shows, which has been incredible. And then they're also the reason that we just had the opportunity to write the theme song for the show, because they'll get that as well. So they've been just incredible to us.
Did you ever think that your music was going to be playing on all these different shows, these reality shows?
You know, I had a random opportunity when I was in Bear Hug, Jersey, and this was, I think, the year after I graduated. I think that's when this was, where we had as a band a couple songs on The Hills on MTV. It was so strange. One of the guys in One Lone Car somehow, probably cold email, got information, and they were looking for music. He sent me the email from them, and then like literally just like, great, we want these 2 songs, sign this paper, your songs on the show. So I had a taste of it.
MTV back in is that, you were not, I don't know, when were you born?
85.
Okay. So yeah, you didn't probably watch MTV, did you? Or
I did, yeah. Okay. Back when like TRL was a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's when they started venturing into kind of the reality world with The Hills, and I think Laguna Beach might have been MTV possibly. And so I had a taste of it then, but I didn't think, that always seemed like the hardest barrier in this industry was figuring out how to get into that world of having, because just because one guy put it on MTV like doesn't mean I can get it anywhere else. Right. And that might be the only time he ever responds to another email from me. Like, you just never know. Mm-hmm. And so I had a taste of it then, but I didn't know that it would be to the extent that it is now. This is a big part of my career.
Okay, so but isn't that funny? When you get a little taste of something, it keeps you wanting more and more. And then, let's talk about your music a little bit. Okay, because that's a big deal.
A little bit.
Yeah, the fact that you are opening up for Train, Gin Blossoms, One Republic, okay, tell me more about your pop music. And when I first pulled you up, I looked at you sing a lot of Christian music too, which we want to talk about as well.
Happy to.
But being in LA, I would imagine can be cutthroat.
Massively.
You're now opening up for all these big name bands or I don't know, do you call them acts?
I'll call them bands,
Bands, acts, or whatever. And so, and so you're doing all of that. Let's talk about all of the things that you're doing in LA, and then also kind of move towards your hometown tour.
I love that. So the Gin Blossoms Train, One Republic, that was when I was in Well Known Car, and we were opening for all those groups. And so that was just pretty much the big fire inside me, okay, you can do this. This could be a living. You're capable of doing these things. It taught me so much about performing. It taught me so much about being on the road, because we were traveling for a few months at a time, where we were just nonstop out playing shows, figuring out where to sleep, doing it all again, driving 12 hours, playing a show, doing it all again. So that was really where I learned professionalism, because there's so many things you load in, you have to deal with the sound people, and the egos can get involved. So you just really learn how to kind of do the dance and all of that. Mm-hmm. And so that period of time, which would have been 2007, 8, I think it was that time period, I was doing all of that. And that was a big, just learning and amazing experience. And so 2017, we moved to LA in 2013, but I was working at a church, Real Life Church, as a worship leader there. And so I was kind of writing for other people, but I wasn't doing anything for my own personal music. 2017 is when I started the Aaron Kellim project. And trying to do that in LA, it comes with a lot of different bags to it. It's really great because I've built such an incredible team that I could not have built here the way I built it there. I mean, we could do long distance things, and I know there's other songwriters here, but specifically the people who I'm surrounded with, I had to be there to do that, which has just been wonderful. The hard part about LA is that everyone's trying to do that there. So again, it's that whole, if I focus on this thought of everyone's trying to do this, why are you trying to do this? Then I'm just wrecked. It's like, well, I should quit then, because if this city, how many millions of people, a good percentage of them are trying to do what you're doing, like, just give up. There's no point. So if I let that mentality seep in, that's like, I'm in trouble. But the other hard part about LA is playing shows in LA, which is a big part of why I wanted to do this homecoming tour. When you go and play, it's, I don't want to try to explain LA too much, but there's the valley in LA, and then there's like a hill, which is where like a lot of the very, very wealthy people live. And then on the other side is Hollywood. So we live in the valley, and then Hollywood's over the hill. And it's very close. It's like 4 miles to get to the other side, but it's LA, so it could also be an hour to get to the other side of the hill, depending on traffic. And so I'm 37. A lot of my friends are near that age. So if I'm playing a show in Hollywood, it's like, I don't want to have to invite all these people to come to Hollywood, because, you know, it could be very hard to get there in the first place. Parking is going to be a nightmare. It's probably going to be late, all these different things. So you have your friends who come to the shows, and then you do get a lot of other random people who, like, maybe don't know you. They're not random, they're humans and they matter, but random to your music. They'll be there, which is great, and you'll get a lot of people like, oh, that was so good. But 90+% of those people are also songwriters, also trying to do what you do. So they enjoyed your music from the lens of, could we potentially work together? And so in LA, it's, at least what I've found, it is very, very hard to find a fan base who, they're not friends who feel obligated to come. They're not just people who like potentially want to work with you, but they actually like, no, I love Aaron Kellim's music, so I'm going to come to a show. So LA has been very hard for the mindset of playing live music, and you start getting that feeling of, okay, I have to play live, but like, why am I doing, like, it doesn't seem to pay off or make sense doing it here, which is why the homecoming tour felt like so right at the time, because I was getting very frustrated with trying to play shows in LA, trying to build some sort of an audience and a fan base, because I've been writing and releasing new music every single month for like almost the past 3 years. So I'm putting out a new song every month, and so it's like I'm at that time of, I need to play this live, I need to see how it works live. And I was just getting so frustrated in Los Angeles trying to play it live and get people's attention. And so I needed to do something to get out of LA, to play these shows in front of people who like enjoy going out to hear live music.
Right.
There's no there's no other agenda for them. They just literally want to come out, hear great music, and have a good time.
Right.
Maybe say hello to you, maybe buy some merch, and then go home, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so setting up the homecoming tour, that was a big part of everything. Of like, I just want to go to towns where not everyone's there because they want something from me.
Wow.
Which has happened, and it's been incredible. Like, we played in Topeka, Kansas on Tuesday of this past week. And I have an uncle in Topeka, aunt and uncle. I say uncle because he was the one there. Aunt and uncle who live in Topeka. And he was like, yeah, you should come to Topeka sometime. I think you would do well here. But I don't necessarily know that I have any fans in Topeka, or like if people would come out. And we packed this little like 100-person theater. I think there were maybe close to 75 people there. Most of them have never heard me before. They're just coming out, taking a chance because they want to have a good time on a Tuesday night. They heard this artist from LA's come to town, like, let's check it out.
Right.
And so moments like that where I look at a crowd of a full room and it's like, none of you guys have any clue who I am. Maybe you've heard my music because you wanted to figure out what you're walking into. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're just like, oh, my friend Kevin Kellim said I should come, so we came.
Right.
And having an audience like that who are captivated, who are like really into what you're doing, has been just this crazy momentum boost for me this past week. And now coming here for these shows, it's going to do so much good for my soul. And remembering like, oh no, people enjoy just coming and listening.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Well, I think it's like coming home, right? Because like the hometown. I mean,
Yeah.
there's something about coming home, whether
yeah.
it's in your, Bethalto is home for me, and I only spent about 1.5 years living in St. Louis, but I've lived here my whole life, and there's nothing like being in your hometown where people care about you, and it's very much what it sounds like, just like when Tommy Carlos is in Nashville and he's writing with all these people from Nashville, but he's doing tours locally because he's also like, he has to fund his ability to write. Like for him, he didn't want to be an artist, he wants to be a writer.
Yeah.
And so, but he has to figure out, like, because I thought he wanted to be an artist, and he's like, no, I just want to be able to fund so that I can go
Right.
write. I'm like, but you kind of are an artist. But anyway, it's like, and I think you, like, coming home, it's like you're getting to do everything that you love in LA, but then this is something that warms your heart
Yes.
and warms your soul, and
Yes.
the people are like coming out genuinely for you. And so I saw that you were in Kansas, and then you were at Lewis and Clark last night.
Yep.
And then you're coming to the Locks Brick House, and we have tickets. We're going to be there
Yes.
today
So
at
pumped.
5 o'clock. I guess we're going to have to get there super early. Or is it in the like the banquet part of it?
It is. Yep.
Okay. And then because I was like, how are they selling tickets and
Right, that'd be
everybody goes
tricky.
to the restaurant?
Yeah, so we'll do it in the banquet room.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a show at 5 o'clock and there's a show at 7 o'clock tonight.
8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 and 8.
5 and 8. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll be able to release this so that I can get it out there and everyone will know too
Amazing.
that you're playing. So I'm looking forward to hearing you sing tonight too.
Thank you.
But you also said that so you're doing all these different home tours. So where are you? You're here at Locks, and then where are you going from here?
Then we go to Waterloo tomorrow. So I have family in Waterloo. My aunt and uncle and their kids live there. And they're kind of, they're like pillar-ish. Like the town knows the Matthews. They live out on a farm, and they're just like kind of well-known in the town. So I set that one up because I knew that they would just be great champions of getting people there, and so that's part of the tour. I did most of it in cities where I have family or friends who, honestly, some of them I just hit up and said, "Hey, I would love to come to." Like I hit up my aunt, "I would love to come to Waterloo. Could you do you want to set something up? Help me set something." So I kind of put it in the hands of other people.
Yeah.
Which has been cool because now they feel like, oh, we got to get people out. We got to like rally the troops for this thing, and so. Waterloo is tomorrow night, or I guess afternoon, 3 to 5. We're playing at a wine bar. Oh, I should know the name. My gosh, everything's jumbled together. There's a wine bar in Waterloo. Yeah,
There's probably not a lot of them in Waterloo. Maybe.
I think that there wouldn't be. Yeah,
okay,
so.
it's the one that's really cool in Waterloo.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the one you're playing at.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing that, and then we head to Nashville. Monday we'll have a day off. We're staying at the studio because Jay at Endure Studios has a studio in Nashville as well.
Nashville, Tennessee. Yep. Okay, because there is a Nashville, Illinois.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be in Tennessee, and we're going to record a little bit of music Monday, and then we're throwing like a big house party for the last show of the homecoming tour. And we have a good amount of friends in Nashville now, and then they'll by proxy bring their crew in. So it's going to be a good little finale.
Well, that's fun. Like you're in Nashville, but you're not singing country music really. But then I mentioned that I had Charlie Brown. He's a singer-songwriter from Nashville. He's from Bethalto. He's living in Bethalto now too. And but you had mentioned that you had kind of reached out with him, and like you guys are from the same area, and that maybe you should get together and write.
Yeah,
you could have like a country pop mix.
I would be down with that.
Yeah,
he's great. I knew of Charlie. Trying to think. I did a show at a spot in Bethalto. It's now a church, but I think it was not the Casey Hall. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're talking about Lifebrook Church?
Yeah.
That's our church. That's
really?
my church. Yeah.
What did it used to be?
It used to be Ziggy's. Okay, so it was a skating rink. When this is way back in the day, like when I'm in 6th grade. We had Ziggy's with a disco ball, and you'd speed skate, and then couple skate, and then it became a church years ago. We actually got our beer like kegerator from the church whenever when they became a church. This was back when, and then I never went to that church until probably the last like 5 or 6 years, and so that's our church now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I played there in between Ziggy's and the church, whatever it was. It had
Yeah. Why am I
basically
drawing
like a
blank?
KC hall, but
It was the Casey Hall.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Casey
That's
Hall.
it.
We had weddings, wedding receptions, and everything there. Yeah.
So I played there, and someone mentioned, and this is years. I mean, this is probably 15-ish years ago. Someone mentioned Charlie and like how he was at that time like writing a lot in Nashville and doing a ton. But again, that is, I'm operating at that time out of like, I have to prove myself by my talent. And so I like didn't even think to reach out to him or like, oh, you should connect me, I would love to meet him. Like I was just like, oh no, he's doing the thing and I'm like playing the Casey Hall, so there's no way that he would want anything to do with me. So he was like kind of on my radar at that point in time. But it wasn't until recently on Facebook, somebody posted something and I think he commented on it. It's like, oh, like finally getting connected because I heard so much about you and I know that you're just like an absolutely incredible songwriter. So we've been, just the minimal chatting back and forth, but I think it'd be pretty amazing at some point. And now that we have the studio in Nashville, I think it would make sense that we connect. And I know he's good friends with Tommy.
Yeah, he's good friends with Tommy, and I've known him forever. And he was on the podcast Thursday night.
Yeah.
But he's written "What I Wouldn't Give" by Blake Shelton.
Amazing.
And he had a gold record from that. And he grew up in Wood River and went to he's a high school teacher still. He's like he has a cooking class. He has artwork. He has a fishing show. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, he has everything going on. During COVID, he got bored and started doing like everything.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, he would be great for you to, and I'll connect you too. But
be great.
Yeah, you guys should write a song together.
It'd be perfect. Yeah,
it'd be fun. And Tommy's down there.
And Tommy. Because I was listening to his podcast this morning on your show, and he was talking about Veterans Project.
Yes.
And Jay, who I work out of the studio, I really want to make this short because it could be a long story, but it's important. So Jay and I first started really working together in 2018-ish. He did a project where he wrote an album with Syrian refugees living in Lebanon. So he was flying to Lebanon, organizing this writing camp retreat with these Syrian refugees, giving them a voice about their struggles, and because the plights of those people, it's wild.
Right.
It's wild. So he was giving them a voice, but then he was collaborating with artists from LA. So he'd bring the songs back, and like I would hop on a verse, I hop on a chorus, and we'd like be writing these songs together with these Syrian refugees. And that's when he and I really connected, because again, I knew he was good at what he did. I liked what he did. But when you get like on a soul and heart level of this is why we're in this industry together, everything changes. And so he and I started working together a ton because of that project that he did. He's now doing a project writing an album with veterans in the States. So he's bringing in veterans to tell their stories, which is incredible. And so when I heard Tommy talking about that, because he works with
Creative Vets.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that rang a bell because I know Jay's mentioned that before. So I hit up Jay this morning. I was like, hey man, do you know Tommy? Like, have you all met before? Because I noticed they were following each other on Instagram. He's like, oh yeah, we wrote 2 of the songs for this veterans project. And I was like, no way. Like, that's such a time. It's like, he's from East Alton, and like, that's basically my home, like next door neighbors in my hometown. And so
those are called divine connections.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Tommy got involved with Creative Vets, and whenever I ask him like, what are you most proud of? I mean, he's had a #1 with Montgomery Gentry. He's written for Blake Shelton and Old Dominion and Trisha Yearwood and all these people, but he's like Creative Vets. Yeah. I mean, he's with Johnny and Friends. I don't know if I'm saying Johnny. It's Johnny, right? Not Joni. It's Johnny and Friends.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was out in New Mexico doing that too. So, just like the veterans, it's therapeutic for them. Mm-hmm. So like the fact that you're doing that, and you guys need to get together because
it's bound to happen now.
Yeah, there's like 150 to 200 veterans that are on the waiting list to be able to write with singer-songwriters and tell their story, and they're like healing through it, and they're crying in these rooms. And Andy was in the service, and so I think that would be, and we have friends. I mean, Griffin was in the service, my nephew, and like just the things that they are struggling with, and to have it come out through music.
Yep.
And write with someone as talented as yourself, like you got to figure out how to do that with them. Yeah,
it's in the atmosphere that it's going to happen. So
yeah.
And Tommy did 2 of the songs for this Endure Veterans project. So the circle's, it's already small. It's getting tighter. So I'm sure the three of us, me, Tommy, and Charlie, will eventually be in a room together, writing music.
Absolutely,
for sure.
we'll make that happen.
It will
we'll
happen.
figure that how to make that happen. So what else? So what else should we talk about?
What else?
You mentioned Zion and Christian music, and we didn't really go there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you. First of all, you said you were a leader in the church.
Yeah. So Zion. At that time, I didn't realize the church here in town. I guess it was kind of progressive because they were doing a youth-led service once a month, and so they would let the band be all youth. I think a lot of what was happening from the pulpit was youth-led. And so the worship leader at that time at Zion, his name was Harley Schmidt. I think there's a combination of things. I think he genuinely wanted to pour into the young people and raise up the next generation. I also think he was a little bit like, I could use a break every once in a while from reading all the time. And so he would take Nolan and myself up, I think it was like Wednesdays after they had band practice. And I remember we would go up into the loft area, like where all the organ pipes were. And he would just show us, like, here's how you play an E chord. Here's how you play B. Here's how you play. Like, he showed us all the chords that are pretty popular in the Christian music world. And then, like, and here's how you sing the songs. And so I started leading, I think probably when I was like 16, we would do the once a month services, and me and Nolan, we had a group of other young people who would lead those services. So I started leading worship then. And at the time, I mean, I'm young, so it's probably, a lot of it's based in, girls probably think this is cool. So of course I'm going to try all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then that just really stuck with me because I specifically remember I played a show with Train. I came home and I led worship that Sunday. Fast forward, I was now at First Christian Church of Bethalto, which I think is just Christian Church. I forget the exact name now. I was leading there the Sunday after I played with Train. And I remember thinking, when I played with Train, I think it was the biggest crowd I've ever seen. I could not see the back. We were outside. And at that point, it's just there's not even faces anymore. There's no connection. It's just this. And so I had that moment. And then I go and lead worship, and at the time, like, maybe 75 people in the room. And I just remember thinking, like, these are the moments. Like, Train opening for them was cool. It's really great that tens of thousands of people heard me sing. But leading people in a room, having collective voices, like, singing out for one purpose, I had a moment of, like, this is something, like, I will have to do for the rest of my life, because this is just different. And I was still young and, like, trying to figure everything out and the purpose of why I was doing what I was doing. But I'll never forget that moment of getting on that stage at the church that Sunday morning. It's like, I feel that what I feel inside right now it's night and day different of what I felt on a stage in front of all these people. So
it's intimate.
Yeah. And just knowing you're connecting, like, allowing space for people to experience God in the moment in a tangible way. There's just nothing like it. And so I've been leading worship since then. When we moved to California, I took the job at Real Life Church, and I still lead almost every Sunday. I'm playing. There's a couple churches that I kind of help out, because right now, it used to be you'd have a worship pastor on staff. And I don't know what it's like across the country, but in California, in LA specifically, that area, being like a worship pastor on staff full of time is kind of a dying breed. A lot of times they're just contracting people in and getting help. They'll have maybe someone who's overseeing it all, but they might not be the person. So I've been helping out at a couple of churches who, that's how they operate. They kind of have a different leader in. They have like a rotation of 4 or so. Right. And so every weekend they're getting a new leader. And so every Sunday I'm still leading worship at a couple of churches, West Valley Christian Church and Shepherd Agua Dulce. And that's something that I just, like, I don't think I'll ever stop doing. It's just
keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our church is actually looking for a new pastor. So that's kind of what we're doing too, is just kind of having somebody different every time, different music and different worship leaders and different pastors coming in until they find someone. But for me, I always feel like there's something about, it's not a big production and it's so intimate, and I feel closest to God when I'm there.
Yeah.
And I know that every bit of money that I'm giving is making a difference. So I know that there are, and there are these big churches, huge churches or whatever, but and there's something to be said about that. I'm sure they have like amazing music and everything, but there's also something to be said when it's just like you feel it, like you feel close and you feel the Spirit like working through you, and you get emotional, like you start singing some old Christian hymns.
Oh, yeah.
And do you guys still sing like the old stuff and the mixture of the new stuff?
Occasionally we will. Yeah, I would. At one point in time, we were trying to like tag a hymn at the end of the set, like go into How Great Thou Art or something like that. So it gets in there, but not as much as it could, because there is something to be said about those old hymns and the lyrics. Obviously, the melody and production might be outdated, but yeah, the words of some of those songs are just beautiful.
What's your favorite Christian song?
Oh, that's a really, really great question. I think right now, what is the song called? Firm Foundation. That's what it's Firm Foundation. I think parentheses, He Won't. That is, I think right now, my top favorite song. It kind of changes different seasons of my life, things that impact me differently. But right now, that's the top. Firm Foundation.
I could put you on the spot here and let you sing just a little thing, because I know that you're saving your voice for Locke's Brick House today, but you are a singer-songwriter and from LA, and if you don't sing some like just like maybe like a 15-second little clip of your favorite, I gotta hear your voice.
That's true. Should I sing one of my own songs?
Sing whatever you want.
Let's see.
But I'm gonna show this picture, because you look like who's Adam Levine. I feel like you look at like Adam
that a lot.
Levine on this picture. Like, that is a cool LA picture.
Johnny De La Mora, he's the photographer. He took that one. That was right after a rehearsal in LA. And I think I was just sitting on the edge of the stage, kind of like taking a break before I loaded everything up. And he's a great photographer. I had him in the room just getting some candid shots everywhere. And then I sat down and he just right in my face.
Well, there's this other one here, and you're like in a jumpsuit. And you look super LA in this picture.
That's the studio in LA.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this one is on your album cover.
Yeah. Yeah, so
that looks your Christian music, maybe.
I actually don't have any Christian music released. So that one was, I recorded a song called Call It Home. I mean, a lot of it has undertones. So if you're in that world, you would catch some undertones in my music. But that one specifically, I shot a video with the crew at Whole Street Productions. And so that's a screenshot from the video, because the cameras they were using for that video were outrageous. So the screen grabs from that music video.
Okay.
I'm using a lot of those because they look really great.
Yeah,
like
they do. That looks really cool. You're totally legit. Yeah. Okay, but what song you want to like just sing it? You don't have to sing the whole one. I know you were going to save your voice.
Yeah, I'll sing a little bit of my song Hold You.
Okay.
That's been my I released that song in 2018 or 19, I think, and it was one that I was a little nervous to release. I'll probably say this at the show tonight, so you're going to hear it twice. But it had like a little bit of R&B undertones, and I'm a white kid from Bethalto, Illinois, and so like R&B could feel like a faked thing from someone like myself. So I was really nervous to put this song out. I mean, it's not even close to heavily R&B, but I eventually decided, like, no, I believe in this song. It is from my heart. It is exactly who I am. And so I'm releasing it to the world. And so it's been my most streamed song. It's done over 1 million streams on Spotify. It's done really well in the licensing world and TV and film. So, this is a special one to me.
Okay. And now, do you need a guitar? I have a guitar in the back there if you need it. Or, I mean, it's up to you. I'm totally putting you right on the spot on this.
You are.
Like,
I love that. This is because the podcast with Tommy, I think you said, isn't this the one you said not to do?
Well, yeah, and now I'm putting you on the spot.
Right.
But you might want to throw that mic. Well, I don't know if you want that microphone on there. I think it'll pick it up.
I really just want it for the tune, so I have the right note.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to tune.
You're like, no, it's not tuned good enough. Okay, that's fine.
I'll just sing it. And there ain't no sunshine like they say. Every time she's gone away, I think I wanna hold you. I think I wanna hold you. And I'm losing sleep here in LA, thinking about them good old days. I think I wanna hold you. I think I wanna hold you. That's the chorus of Hold You.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your voice is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for doing that. That's like I totally put you on the
Of course.
spot on
No,
that.
it's all good. I mean, that's what I do for a living, so I have to be prepared for those moments.
I like it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just to kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
I know that you've got a new song coming out, right? Or it's this Good Thing Till It's Gone.
Yeah, so
latest song. What's your latest song?
I just released that one a couple of weeks ago. I think it's been about 3 weeks now. And that's a song it's interesting because the writing process for me is pretty like I have a kind of a typical routine when I'm writing music, whether for myself or somebody else. And it's always like, I just think there's different approaches to music and writing music. There's the approach of like, we just want to write songs that artists cut and like become massive hits, which is amazing and like obviously very needed. I kind of come from the approach of like, I want to write this song with the artist that they really want to write, that they're not thinking, well, is this good enough to be something? Is it the right, like perfect concept for a song or whatever? I want to get in a room with somebody, and so most of my sessions will be, we come in and we just start talking like, no, how's your day, how's your week, how's everything going? Eventually through that conversation, sometimes half an hour, sometimes it's an hour before we even touch a guitar or a piano, and you will eventually land on like, okay, we got through the small talk, we're getting in stuff a little deeper, bam, like now we found the meat and potatoes, and like that's the thing we need to write about, because that's what's been on your mind for the past week, for the past month, whatever it is. You can't get that out of your head, you need an outlet for it. Let's write about that. And so like Jay and myself at Endure, like that, we love that. Like we want to write really great pop music, we hope it does really well, but at the core we want to write songs that an artist comes in and they're like, gosh, I had to get that off my chest.
Right.
I'm so glad. Like I wasn't sure how to write about that. I wasn't sure if I could write about that, but I'm so glad we got to write about that. So that's always that's my standard routine for writing a song. This one, Good Thing Till It's Gone, I had a writing session with Brittany Bookout, who writes a lot of my music with me. And she came in and we just like kind of just at the surface level of life and how things were going. And I think she got up to like make some tea or something like that. And so I had the piano in front of me, and a lot of times when there's like dead space, I'll just kind of noodle on the piano. And I played the lead line melody, which you can hear in the song. And it was like this really pretty line melody that I typically wouldn't write music over the melody that I played. And she's like, whoa, what is that? And I was like, I don't know. I was just kind of doing something while you got your tea. And she's like, I really like that. We should write something to that. And it's like, okay, I'm down. Let's do that. And then she said, I had this idea that I think would be a great song for you. She's like, you know that phrase, you don't really know a good thing until it's gone. Like a lot of times it takes losing something to know how good it was. And she's like, I look at your relationship with your wife and I think you already know, like you're not ever going to have to wait. Like the way that you cherish her and like talk about her, she's like, I think you already know that you have a good thing and you don't have to wait until it's gone. She's like, I think that's really cool. And I don't think a lot of people write music about that kind of stuff. She's like, I think it'd be cool to write a song about that. It's like, I do too. I think that'd be really special. And so we just started writing, which doesn't have, a lot of times it takes like the hour conversation to get to what you want to write about.
Right.
But that session was just like a random little thing happened. She liked it, I liked it. And then she had this idea. And so we chased it. And so that song is just all about, the verses are kind of in the world of, I'm not always the best version of myself, but you still like love me through it all. And through those moments of when like you're getting kind of the worst of me, you're still
loving.
Yes, and you're still choosing me and all of that. Like, that's how I know I have such a good thing. And so the chorus is all like, I don't want a day where I'm living without you. The chorus really sits on that idea. I don't have to wait until I lose it. I already know I have a good thing. So
You appreciate what you have.
exactly. Yep.
So your wife, what's she like?
She's amazing. She's the best human on planet Earth. She's a physical therapist, so that's
Okay.
what she does.
Oh, that's right. So my girlfriend, Sean, she's had a lot of different, health related things that she's had to go to PT for. And she's very picky. I would
Okay.
just say that. And I think I can say that about Sean, but she's very particular. Let's
Okay.
just say that.
Yeah.
And she's
Which is
like,
wise.
and she told me, she's like, your wife is the best PT that she ever had. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, anyway, that's a side note.
She'll be excited
Yeah.
to hear that. Yeah, so she's a physical therapist. That's her job. But what she is really passionate about right now, which has been amazing, and this kind of started throughout COVID, she is a quad skater. So like the roller skates like you would use at Ziggy's with two
Yeah.
wheels in the front, two wheels in the
Yeah.
back. She's really into that right now. But she goes to skate parks and she's like doing tricks on half pipes and stuff.
Get
And
out.
She's ridiculously good at it.
Really?
It's wild. So that's been so cool. Like, there's just something that when you see your spouse like have a passion like that and get really excited about something like that, I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure she can go to a skate park on Saturday because I see what it does and the joy that
Super. Yeah.
And so that's been really awesome seeing that over the past few years. But she's just the best human being. I think we're different in kind of the she's kind of more justice minded, so she'll like very much like fighting and advocating for people in situations where I'm more of like the people pleaser, so it's hard for me to like we like take a stand against something because I'm like I can for everybody. So that's like the way we are different. But she's just she's amazing. She's so incredibly kind. She sees other people so well. I think when we moved to LA, just the way that knowing as a transplant what that feels like, I just remember we would always have people in our home who probably like didn't have any other people around, and she's so like conscious of that. She sees people who maybe aren't the popular ones or whatever it is, and those she just is amazing.
Well,
how she sees people.
She's in healthcare, and so and as a therapist, because I've worked around a lot of PTs and OTs, and I think that is kind of in your blood, is you're advocating. But I think it's great that you guys are a little different and you appreciate the differences.
Yeah.
Andy is very he loves everything. Like he just loves to do every single thing. He hunting, fishing. He could go. He's police officer, but he's also on SWAT. But he also, and so what's so funny this morning is I was like, hey, why don't you be on the podcast, and you can help me interview Aaron, and he's like, no. And I said, why? And he's like, no, I'm not ready for that. Like, social media stuff. Like, no, I don't want to be on camera. I'm like, you literally go out on SWAT, okay? Right. You're risking your life every single day. You're doing this scary stuff. But I'm like, but you won't get in there, get on camera? He's like, no, that freaks me out right now. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
That's real.
But yeah, I mean, and I think just allowing each other to, do the things that you love. He went to a hunting movie yesterday. I remember going a year ago and I was like, I never want to do this again. But he went with my brother. But I think even, him allowing me to do a podcast, and he's like, it's been kind of nice because I see a different side of you that's able to have fun and do something creative and fun. And it sounds like, that you're appreciating that with your wife too. It's
incredible.
Let her go roller skating if she wants. And then, and advocating for people. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm pretty vocal too, and I advocate for people. But Andy was like, tell him this, tell him that. But when it gets down to it, he was voted your best friend in high school.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, he wants to get along with everybody.
Same. That I feel that to my core.
Yeah,
to the core.
I noticed that about you. I feel like you just have this really sweet soul, and the fact that you must be an empath for sure.
Yep.
Feeling everybody's
I'm a 9
feelings.
on the Enneagram chart. Yeah.
That makes so the mediator. You want everyone to get along. And, and don't cause any confrontation.
Yep. At any expense possible, even to my own
I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, so I'm the helper.
Okay.
But then my second highest is the 8, which is the top dog.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And so is Andy. He's a 2, the helper, and an 8,
Oh, wow.
top dog.
Okay.
So what happens, and this is just a little Enneagram side note here, personality trait test, is that, when you're at your best, the 2s are the helpers. They do the doing. And so, don't get in anybody's way, because don't ever tell me I can't do something, because I'll find a way to bring molten lava down on your head showing you how I did
Right.
it. And but the 2s help each other. They always want to help other people, but then the top dog comes in. And so I think when Andy and I are at our 2s the best, it's like, oh, well, let me help you do this. Oh, you're great. And like we're the biggest cheerleaders. And then when we both want to be the boss, because he's the boss at his work and I'm the boss at my work.
Right.
So when we come back in, it's like, you're not going to tell me what to do. Well, you're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
Nobody's going to boss us around. But I think the Enneagram is very interesting too.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, you take everything at face value. Like there's great things. And if you put too much weight into it, it could be problematic as well. But it is really incredible for like even something like that. I think it's so easy if we're not conscious of things. When you have those moments of, well, we're not doing it your way, like I'm not doing it your way. If we don't understand the roots of that, then we just carry and like we put that down here and we store it for the next time, and then we can pull it back out and say, hey, remember that time. But if we understand like, oh no, that's part of, as a 2, that's how she's going to react in this moment. Or as a 9, like, okay, that's how he's going to react in this moment. And so it doesn't make moments okay. Like if I do something that is not great, if I don't communicate, because that's a big thing. It's like communicating some of the hard things can be difficult for me, or things that I think might cause a little conflict or something like that.
Right.
Then I'll be quiet about it, because it's like it's easier for me to just tuck it away and try to bury it than to talk about it. And so if there's an understanding of why I'm like that, and it's not just like, well, he won't talk to me.
Right.
Like that gives her my wife a better understanding of, okay, yeah, he shouldn't be that, like he needs to talk about these things, but I understand why he does it.
Because that's his personality type.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and this is how naive I was. I'm like, doesn't everybody think like me? And then I did the Enneagram, and I realized that, there's the perfectionist, there's the helper, producer, visionary, and Andy's much a visionary too.
Okay.
Let's talk about all these things. And I think if I didn't know that about him, then I would be like stressed out. Like, oh, he wants to go fly out on an airplane, and now he wants to go to Colorado to do this, and now he wants to do songwriting. Now he's going to do a podcast. Like he could think of a million things to do, but because I know that about him, I just know he's just dreaming. Yeah. And so I don't need to stress out thinking he's going to move away to Iraq now and go do this.
Right.
And that's having that understanding. And even with the 9, like your personality, 9s typically will be like, you think that they're agreeing with you because they're like this, but that doesn't mean they're agreeing with you. It just means that like, you know what, I'm just not going to share this. Yeah. I want everything to be peaceful. My mom was a 2 and a 9. Okay. So I do get that. But anyway, so interesting.
It is. It really is.
Personalities are, I think it is interesting. It's like, it's not about, it just helps you to understand somebody.
Yeah, which is very important. I think those are things we're just not taught growing up, of how it's like so me focused. And then, like you said, like we get so involved in, it's all about, it's me. What do you want to do? What are you like? Then if people don't think like we think, then it's like, well, something must be wrong with you, like,
right?
Because I've got to figure it out,
right?
But it's so simple, just understanding. Okay, that's their personality, and that doesn't make maybe a situation okay, but I can at least understand why it's like that,
right? And getting through the hard stuff, like even that you said, with you and your wife, and that it's not being all about yourself. And it's so easy. Like you're a LA pop star, so like why, you could be like, it's all about me. I'm the big deal here, but then, to be humble enough to like really work through the tough stuff and having someone that loves you. And I love that about your song, just to circle back about this whole conversation, is that, the song that you're singing is like to love someone, know that someone loves you just for who you are. Right. And like, even your ugliest, your worst days. And, I know Andy has seen the worst of me, and I've probably seen the worst of him, but to like love you through that, and to find someone who like you can trust, to know like, what, it doesn't matter what I do, that this person's going to be there for me.
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So we've gotten into some relationship conversation now. Yeah. So let's talk. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we kind of wrap up, or?
I think we covered a lot of the things that I would want to talk about.
Okay.
So I think the only thing left is I would love if you're a social media user or if you listen to music, anywhere that you do that, it's under Aaron Kellim. Feel free to follow me at any of those places, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, if that's what you do, Twitter, or like Spotify, Apple Music. Following, listening to my music would mean a lot to me. So I think that would be
great.
it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to ask.
Oh, well, perfect.
So awesome. And if you like what you're hearing, just follow me on the See the Unseen podcast on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.